Hello Internet, and once again Thegamingbard is back to do another video. In my last one I had done a comparison, general comparison mind you, of the Super Nintendo cart and Super Famicom cart and its boxes and contents. So today I'm going to do a review on the Super Famicom game I had bought, Psycho Dream. And to be honest, I'm kind of wasting my time. It's not a good game, but then again it's not a bad game. It's average for its time, which means it's dated today. I was trying to find a rare gem and failed. Because, well, why not go for a rare gem? I mean, there's plenty of Japanese games that you could probably play and enjoy despite it being in Japanese and not English. This kind of game was it. It was a run and beat things up. And also add in the fact that there's box art floating around the internet as not Psycho Dream, but Psycho Probe, with a rather Americanized Maria and Rio on top of it. I kind of thought, well, maybe it had somehow been overlooked and neglected somehow at the last minute for whatever reason. And that is certainly not the case. Well, first, dear God, that music is terrible. I mean, I've heard bad. Sometimes it was due to the hardware limitations, and sometimes it was just because the composer really didn't seem to know what he was doing. In this case, it's bad all around. I'm sorry. The second level is okay, and the ending credits music, you can kind of see where they were trying to go. Something very Japanese, I suppose. But it's bad. Mute it. The sound's just as bad. To when you get hit. That's real great, guys. And as far as the graphics are concerned, they do their job. Everything looks like they're supposed to. Sometimes you don't know what a thing is, but to be honest, I think that's part of the game. Other than that, a personal thought is that this game looks more like a Sega Genesis game and not a Super Nintendo. Which isn't anything really bad, it's just something I'd like to throw out there. And the controls are pretty much laid out more or less how you would expect. You can control your character with the D-pad, there's an attack button, a jump button, and a special button which hits everything on screen. Of course, the only downside about that is the fact that it takes too long to actually hit. You're just better off saving it for certain times for the invincible frames. Pressing start will pause the game. However, this game does have a few buttons that took me by surprise, such as pressing the L or R button will allow your character to run. Pressing X will... Nah, just kidding. Pressing L and X will kill you, and pressing L, R, and select will reset the game. But why this game has a suicide button and a reset button, I will never understand. And there seems to be some sort of way to save your progress, but I could never figure it out. Maybe my game's battery is dead somehow. Either which way, the game is so short you really don't need it. But even then, are any of these controls good? Well, they're average. They could have been better, they could have been worse. Controlling your character is very nice. You feel a good response moving left and right and ducking, and even jumping's good. Press it real quick and he'll do a short jump. Hold down, he'll jump even higher. Hold down the running button and the jump button and he'll jump even higher. So what if you don't need a running start? However, the hit detection is where the game suffers. At first I thought it was okay. Air combat was a waste of time, but ground was pretty solid. But after some time, even the ground seemed to be a pain in the butt. But don't get me wrong. It's not terrible. You can still manage to play through this game and maybe find some enjoyment out of it. However, there are other games you could play that are much better. But how does the rest of the features hold up? Well, it had potential, but fell short. For one, you don't have to worry about lives. Granted, as soon as you die, you're dead, but you have infinite continues. There's a timer, but it's so freaking high, you'll probably never run out. There's 2 characters, but their differences are so minute, it might as well have been just one character melded together. Overall, I had difficulty telling the difference between the 2 characters. The only real distinguishing difference is how their weapons advance. Rio should really stick with his swords, and Maria should really stick with her guns. And to be honest, it was kinda nice still having the option of jumping in between either or, but I really don't like how it was handled. You see, the same gem, when you kill an enemy, it has the chance of dropping any given gem. And these gems are pretty standard fare. Besides the weapon upgrades, you also have your health, temporary invincibility, and your special attack that hits everybody. Now the fault lies in with the weapon upgrade gem. It's green. That means it's melee. If you want a gun upgrade, you have to wait a few seconds for it to turn blue. And once you're on level 2, you really should not switch between either or, because it will always keep you at level 2. You have to stick with one or the other. And if you're using Maria and guns, you may accidentally hit a green gem. Level 3 is basically an upgrade of level 2. But level 4, which is a red gem that will appear instead of green, will allow access to your super form. And the super form, well, is a lot of fun, I'll admit that much. It's basically a combination of your level 3 melee and gun attacks. You can really start ripping through the levels with that. You just spam the attack button and move along to the right and call it a day. There's only really 2 drawbacks. The first drawback is that you can lose that superpower after getting hit 3 times. The other one is that Maria is the only one with the added benefit, while Rio has nothing. When she jumps, she's able to float down to the ground slower. Come to think of it, what's up with these chicks and floating? However the case may be, the game is average, even for a 1992 game. Super Castlevania 4, Shinobi 3, and ActRaiser all came out around that time and were much, much better than this thing. But I wouldn't hold it against you if you still wanted to try to play the game. My advice would be to try to find a copy of it for $5. Anything more and you would probably feel like you were ripped off.